Futures looking good. And, we were kind of looking for this little bit of bounce yesterday in the futures. Got that. And hitting the mean. Easy peasy. This stuff was pretty much sitting there. This was the bottom. And why was this a bottom? In fact, we were looking for this bottom. And I expect S&P to open up, or even if it opens up here, to go back and test that bottom. That will open that up. So big futures crossed this line and started to push down. And this is where futures bottomed out. Come on, one last short. And right here. So this is where the futures bottomed out. I'm assuming that uh, market will close somewhere, open somewhere around here, 43.70, somewhere around here, but then quickly push down to test this number. If the markets run from somewhere around here where they would open, then this bounce would be a little sort of dicey. So I think futures or the market need to go back down to this level, test this level, make a pilgrimage here. Then if they bounce, certainly would be a good bounce, and this is where it will come back and take a breather, 43.80 or whatever this number is. And so to the downside, this was the base case in last night charting, and this is still the base case to the downside. And to the upside, I think we are 44.20. We are let's see how it goes. Right, first let's clear this. So let's go first test this number and then jump from there or bounce from there. Let's test 43.80. If that clears, then we have a shot at 44.20. Let's reassess the situation around 44.20 to 44.27. A good bit of chance that it will come back up into 44.45, but not plotting that right now. Let's take it hour by hour. And then a larger picture. Think this doji here on the monthly side of things. April is usually a green month. If you look at the regular candles, March was a green month. But if you look at doji, which is an average, the March was a red month, right? So, but this one here is per average. This one is a good month. Let's see how that plays out. I'm still thinking that this would be a green month, and then after that we'll start to push down for MACD and for the stochastic. There is still a bit of downside, but this is on the monthly side of things. 43.17 is where it should bottom out. 43.17 to 42.83. 42.83 would be a bit of a stretch, but let's see. Let's see, 43.18, somewhere around that range. Let's see how things go. Mean is sitting at around 41.57, and this is still a very good possibility, probably into next month. 40, yeah, well, let's see. Not really plotting this thing here today. So far, earnings been good, but the futures are not reacting the way they should. So based on that, I'm assuming that the markets will go down to test this number first again. 4350, 4360, or 4357, whatever this number is. This line is the 50 EMA on the weekly. So this line will be tested today. If it bounce, I think we should come back around 4381. And the top should be around 4420, somewhere around that. Should that break and we have room into 4300, uh, let's yeah, let's first break 4357 or something like that. After that, we will reassess the matter to the downside around 4300. 75 points to the downside. Let's see how that plays out. And this is true for SPX as well. We did chart last night onto SPX side of things. And I think last night we discussed something. Where's the index? There's the index. Where's 1 hour chart? So even though we understand how the bigger picture is, working out, I would still be trading based on this chart. I would still be trading based on 1 hour chart, taking 1 hour by 1 hour. Now, the thing that we need to appreciate here with these charts is that SPY, the ETF, looks primed to jump back up. ETF looks really primed to make a comeback. It is pretty oversold here, and it has to come back up. And we already had a green, pale red bar here. So I'm expecting this to push another 3 points to downside, perhaps somewhere around 430. Yeah, it is at 436, and it pushed down to somewhere around here. I think it should, after it hits the number here, where's the daily chart? Right here. Come on, chart. Okay. So this is what I'm expecting from SPY to hit this number somehow during the course of the session. I think 435.25, somewhere around this number, SPY will hit this number. For now, I think ephemeral bounce is in order. 1 hour is oversold for ETF, and I think it will push into this number, 437 or something like that. And there is enough ammo for it to push into 437.85. But let's test this number, 437.31. And most likely, I'm pretty sure it's going to go into this number. Let's reassess the situation here once it clears here. If it can push into this should be where we can short it. Unless SPY can actually push down into this number here, 435. This should be a very good bounce. If this bounce fails, we'll look for a push into this number here, 426. Not looking for that right away, but 430 is pretty much doable. If SPX pushes into this number, 42 or the 4300, based on this chart about here, 43, 44, and then 43.26. And if that can happen, then SPY will push into this number, 432. I will keep updating you guys over the phone or the text as well, with both the charts. the regular and the Heikin-Ashi charts. So this should be a classic bear trap, if you will. Uh, According to these regular candles, this should be a classic bear trap. 437.97. I don't believe it's going to go hit 438.73, but to the base case, upside for SPY right now 437.28. Good to have would be 437.82. Let's reassess the situation here. That's on the SPX side of things. And now let's go back into VIX. Before that, a quick look at this thing, interest rates. So yesterday we were looking for this come back down on the interest rates. They have left their 2.6. I don't think we're going to get 2.6, but still, it has to come back down. It is overbought here, and interest rates need to come back down. First bump should be around this number, 2.79 area. And should that break, next bounce number should be 2.75. Not plotting anything below this right now, but as the day goes by, we will look for this 2.74, 2.75 hit, and then we'll see if we can push it down from there. That's on the yield side of things. And now let's go into VIX. This one is very interesting, very interesting. Weekly mean is sitting right around at 2353. And interesting enough that VIX has crossed above that on the regular candles, but on the Heikin-Ashi it hasn't. 2478 is where it is sitting right now. So this is a number I'm pretty sure majority of the market participants are, this is the number majority of the market participants would want to see. 2478. So this is the number that will be the deciding factor today. Most likely, if this pierces and let's see, yeah, if this pierces and if it pushes up from here, I think then volatility will come back into picture around 2644. But not right now. As of now, where things are, I'm not looking for a push above this number. In fact, right at the open, I think this will kind of come back down a little bit. Then we will see a push above. These two charts are very different to read, very difficult to read. In fact, on the regular charts, VIX is above their mean, above its mean, and on the Heikin-Ashi charts, VIX is below the mean. So let's see, as the day progresses, let's see how this works out. I want to see VIX on the daily right here. And somehow, 27, this number, well, not saying not achievable, but looks pretty decent. Looks very decent. Can actually, but there are a lot of resistances between now and then. But let's see how this plays out. Let's see how this plays out. And this week is going to be a very interesting week. If I were to, just play based on the technicals, I would have played short on the markets and long for the volatility. But given the earnings side of things, don't want to do that. Don't want to get caught if majority of the market participants deem that as a good thing, earnings as a good thing, then VIX will come back crashing down. VIX has left its 5. VIX is currently sitting away from its regular moving averages. Of course, it is touching its 100 major moving average, but it is sitting away from its regular sporting averages. So that's another good thing. 25. Not looking for a test of this right away, but looking for a test of this number, 2474. If it clears here, then we will reassess the situation. Mean on Heikin-Ashi, weekly mean on Heikin-Ashi. Watching that number very keenly. And again, I will trade based on this number here, based on this chart. So as of now, where things stand, I'm expecting this to come back down, test 2370 or something like that, 20 bips down on the VIX. Hopefully, it should bounce here. But most likely scenario, what's going to happen is it's going to come back down. It will try to bounce somewhere around here. And if it bounces here, then we'll shift the strategy into going short the markets. But if it fails to bounce here, I'm pretty sure it's going to come back down to this number, around 23. It will be a bounce here. As of now, I don't see VIX going below 23. But let's reassess the situation around here when it is hitting the 50 and the 21 on the daily. If that breaks, then we have the mean sitting around 2261. So if this happens, then it will be a rally day. So let's see how that works out. Usually what happens is we know this pattern. We have seen this many times. It gets overbought, comes right back into its 5, into 8, breaks that, goes right into its mean. So that is a common pattern. But let's see how this works out today. Let's reassess 2367, whatever this number is, the 8 on the hourly. Should that break, then it will push into this number, the 50 on the hourly. Let's reassess the situation there. Pretty much we talked about a lot of things, and I have put some things in my this one in dot stuff. I have put some some specific stocks in there. Please take a look at that and trade according to those numbers. Feel free, and besides that, anything else, if you guys are watching, let me know. I'll be keeping a very close eye on Bitcoin as well. This thing is again, this is a very on the lower time frames. This is a very clean pattern. It gets out of the Bollinger Band, gets oversold, goes right back into the mean. This is a very consistent pattern. Take a breather, and start to push up into this number. Right about here, 39,700, and push into this number, 40,000. Okay. Anybody looking at any specific stocks? BTC versus Nasdaq had to scale, but the moves they make are pretty similar. Nice, very nice. AMD. AMD, the way that you want to trade AMD is go back in here. Just like that. We'll fix it. Go sit down there. I'll be right with you. Right. AMD, the way that you want to trade is you obviously want to keep an eye on broader markets. I think we did chart AMD last night as well, but let's go ahead and do that one more time. Open up SOX, open up SMH, and you're looking for a bounce on all of these names, AMD, and probably NVIDIA. So this is how you want to trade. Everything is oversold here. All of them are oversold, and I think a bounce is in order. Look for VIX for decent entries on these, and look for the weekly chart as well. Let's see the weekly. So I think after the bounce, this is where it is headed, 2981. Or if it can push down today itself, then this is where it should bounce, 2981. Again, somewhere around here, 233 on the SMH. This has to fill this gap around here. AMD. So AMD will have a decent, I think, push up today. Although ephemeral, I think that after that, AMD has to come back down. Right about NVIDIA also should try to push up. and after that, Nvidia also should try to come back down. Uh, and Nvidia is headed for this 200 number or something, 202. So Nvidia, let's get into Nvidia on this is the weekly, and for monthly, this is where Nvidia is headed into 200. 177, we will take a look at that a little later, but Nvidia has to come back down into this number now. It's pretty much sitting there, and I think it should bounce somewhere around that number right about here. Between this 203 and 198, Nvidia should bounce. Nvidia, after the bounce, I think it should still has to come back into this number 178. But we will, we'll cross that bridge when it comes to that. But for now, this is where I think we should get some sort of an ephemeral bounce on Nvidia. And should Nvidia bounce, I think AMD will also try to do the same exact thing. So look for a bounce around this number again for AMD. Into the upside, AMD 100 should be, yeah, 100 should be there. And then if AMD can cross above 100, then we will reassess the situation. But for now, I think we can look for a push into this number 94.69. And then after that, we'll reassess the situation. Weekly chart, monthly chart. Pretty much there. Not expecting right now a push down into this, but this is where it is headed. So if you are looking to play something passive, you can play AMD to the passive side of things, and you can actually take a position right about here. Yep, 93, 93, then 97. That's how it's going to progress. We're not seeing a whole lot of downside today, but as the day progresses, as the technicals develop, then we can definitely plot uh, where exactly it might bounce. And ABNB, this is a ABNB as a company. It is it is looking good. They if the season turns out to be good, then ABNB has quite a bit to the upside. But as of now, because of the COVID making a comeback, I don't want to get involved in the ABNB. So yeah, I don't want to get involved in here either to the upside or to the downside. Nothing is clear, and until something is clear, don't want to get involved. To the upside, 176 is pretty much the cap. And if it can clear 176, then we can reassess the situation. To the downside, I think the mean is still at 168 for 20 or something like that. If it breaks below, look for a bounce around 167.50. But as a matter of fact, I don't want to get involved in this one. This would have been a good push had the COVID and all that that's been cleared. That was going well actually. The mask mandates came off, the vaccine mandates came off. It would have been good for the travel sector, and most of that the restrictions coming off were because of the lobbying kind of thing. But yeah, they need to lobby harder for these things to take effect. Costco, I will be a buyer of Costco. Long term, short term, let's see if I can trade that. So the Costco and Target, the difference there is Costco is a consumer staple, if you will, and the Target is consumer discretionary. So that's the difference there. Watch for that. Don't get caught up into buying Target. Don't get caught up into buying Target. Target is a different kind of consumer, and that is consumer discretionary. Costco, Walmart, BJ's is another good one. BJ's is a small ticket item, so look for that one if you're looking to play consumer staples. Look for a bounce around 576, or you can short it down to 576. Look for a bounce there. Failed bounce will result in 564 on Costco, 564, 565 on Costco. So after that, we can still look for a bounce, and after that, we can still look for a push up into this number 603, 604. For now, look for a potential downside going into this number, and 587. Should that break 580, and the mean is sitting at 575. So let's see how this plays out. My don't want to say bias, but this has to correct itself, and after that, because of this chart, looks like it needs to come back down. Then we will reassess the situation around this number 576. Pretty much it will bounce around here. If it fails the bounce, then it will come back into 564. And if the market starts to push higher, this will again start to push back higher into this numbers 604 or something like that. What's on GS? GS GS will need to test this number one more time. I think 312 is pretty much sitting there. The banks did post a great number, and that is not translating into bank. And we spoke about this thing last night in during the charting, and this has something to do with yield curve inversion. And when you have 2 year coming back down below 10 year, where the banks lend the short term, they borrow the short term and lend the longer term, that model would work against them if the short term yield curve is greater than the longer term yield curve. So keep a watch on that. And any bit of good news, uh, banks should rally. Right now, the banks are not really. I think banks are trading as though their earnings are going to take a huge hit next quarter. That's what is happening with. And JPM, Jamie Dimon, yesterday, I think the gentleman said that it's going to, fourth quarter is going to be a tough one, but that is fourth quarter of 2022, not right now. Right now, we want to trade based on the technicals that are in front of us. And I still think there's a good bit of push left in Goldman Sachs. If it the sooner if it can hit this number 311 or something like that, the better it is that it can start pushing up. So that we so the sooner it hits this number, we can look for an at least ephemeral bounce, and if it breaks, then we can look for a further push down into this number 304. Uh, yeah, 304, most likely 278 or something, somewhere around here. But I'm not right now. I'm not charting around this number, but this needs to happen at some point in time, probably another couple of weeks later. But let's see. For today, the sooner we can hit this number 311, 312, the better. After this, I think it will still push into 303, and probably later sometime 259. For now, not plotting any of that stuff. All right, guys, 3 minute to open.